Hi, third graders. My name is Mr. Muehlbauer, and I'm the director of the fourth grade band. What I'm going to try to do in this video is show you the 7 different instruments that you can choose from if you decide to play in the band next year. I hope that you can find at least one that would really suit you. Something that you think looks like fun, sounds really great, and you can picture yourself playing next year with me. Okay, so the 7 instruments I'm going to introduce you to are flute, clarinet, saxophone, trumpet, trombone, baritone, and percussion. Now I'm going to introduce them in 3 different sections. So I'm going to introduce you to the woodwind instruments, flute, clarinet, saxophone. I'm going to introduce you to the brass instruments, trumpet, trombone, and baritone. And then finally, we'll end with our percussion section. And percussion is just a fancy name for drums. Okay, so let's see some of the choices that you have available. The first ones are going to be our woodwind instruments, and it starts with the flute. The flute comes in a fairly small case. I'm going to open it up so you can see it. Okay, ready? Here we go. So here's our nice, shiny, beautiful flute. Let's open it up and put it together. We'll learn how to do this the first couple of lessons, but we put it in just right. It's got this little piece on the end that fits in here. So when you see, we have all the different buttons. They all go up and down. We can put our fingers on them. And on this side, we have the part we blow into. The flute is going to play the high notes, usually the faster notes because we have all these buttons to push. It's going to play the higher notes and the faster notes. They sit right in the front of the band, and it sounds like this. So a very nice sound. I'm going to put this one down for a second to show you another woodwind option. And that's going to be our clarinet. The clarinet comes in a slightly larger case, but still small. It's about the size of a lunchbox. There's not a sandwich inside here, I promise. It's a clarinet. Okay, ready? Oops. Doo-doo-doo. So here is our clarinet. It comes in lots of different pieces. This is one of my favorite instruments. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. Okay, so I'm going to put these pieces together here. We'll start with our bottom. And then we put one more. So they're going to twist on like this. Okay. Then we get the top. This part's a little complicated. Look how cool this looks already. All these different buttons. It's kind of similar to a recorder, but you can see there's all these extra pieces on here. That helps us play more notes. Okay, we have a little piece on the top. This is an extender here. We call it the barrel. And then the final part, let me put this down here so I can get everything. The final part is the mouthpiece. So I'm going to take this reed. It's a piece of wood. This is the part that's going to kind of vibrate in our mouth. I'm going to put it on here on the mouthpiece. We'll learn how to do this those first couple of lessons. I know it looks tricky right now. But I put it on just right. I'm going to tighten these screws. And then this goes right on the very tip of your clarinet. So we'll put it up here. Okay, so now we have our clarinet. Really beautiful instrument. It's going to be a little bit lower pitched. Let me just get this thing off of here. Okay, it's going to be a little bit lower pitched than our flute was, but still on the higher side. Kind of a fun instrument. I'm going to put this one aside too. So far we have the flute and the clarinet. Now there's one more instrument in our woodwind section. And this is going to be the saxophone. To help hold the saxophone, it's a little bit larger. We can see it's made of metal, so it's a little bit on the heavy side. I'm going to put on this neck strap. This neck strap connects right to the back of your saxophone. Where is it? Right here. I'll clip it on. Okay. Pull it up, and now I can hold it. And I'll stand up a little taller. So you can see I have fingers down here for these large buttons. There's a little pearl where I can touch them. And then I have fingers up here That's what it's going to look like. Here's the saxophone. Now this one's a little bit loud, especially on a video. Pretty fun. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to take these three instruments, the saxophone, the clarinet. Do you remember the last one? Yeah, the flute. And I'm going to play a real quick fourth grade band song. This is something that you might perhaps play next year if you decide to join fourth grade band. Now, these three instruments are fairly similar because they're all what we call woodwind instruments, which is going to be a longer body, lots of buttons, lots of keys, and they're going to make sound either with this wooden reed on the clarinet and the saxophone, or on this metal part right here on the flute. Okay, so let's see. We'll start with our flute, and then we'll work our way back. So we'll take off this. And here is our flute playing. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and... That's the flute. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. This is going to be the clarinet. I'm going to play the same song, but now this is the clarinet music for it. So you'll hear it's kind of the same, but it has also some differences. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and... And that's the clarinet. A little bit deeper, but a very beautiful sound. Our final woodwind instrument was the saxophone. Now of the three, the saxophone is the lowest pitch of our woodwinds, and it's also going to be the loudest. Okay, here's that same song. Let's listen. And those are the three woodwind instruments. Now, that's only half of the band, because also in our band, hold on a sec, also in our band, we have our brass instruments. And I know what you're thinking, the saxophone is made of brass, but we call it a woodwind. Sometimes things get confusing. Let me introduce you, though, to our three brass instruments, which is going to be trumpet, trombone, and baritone. So our first one is going to be the trumpet. What a great looking instrument. It's made of brass, so this is a type of metal. There's going to be a mouthpiece part, the part we blow into. That's going to attach to here. The air is going to go all the way through these tubes, and then it's going to shoot out the end. It's going to make a really nice, strong, powerful sound. It's a very heroic sound. It's a very beautiful sound. Back when I was your age, when I was 10 years old and I played in fourth grade band, this was the instrument that I started on. In fact, this is my actual trumpet. That's why it's kind of old looking. I played this instrument when I was in fourth grade, so I'm kind of partial to it. Let's see. It has buttons. We call these valves. This is how we change the notes. We can also change the notes with our lips. So let me play a couple of notes. First, I'll play notes where I just change with my lips by tightening them and loosening them. And then I'll play some by changing notes with the valves. So here we go. I can also change notes using the valves. Okay, so that's our trumpet. Now, a little bit larger than the trumpet is our next instrument, trombone. So what's similar about the trombone, I'll kind of hold it up here, it's also made of metal. This is still made of brass, and it still has the mouthpiece, the part that we blow into. It goes right in. The difference, though, is this instrument is a little bit larger, and instead of buttons, we have a slide. So it's going to go in and out. Probably one of the most fun instruments to play. You get to move around, you sit towards the back of the band, you have the largest instrument. It's going to be one of the louder sounds. It also plays quiet, but it can play loud, and you get some pretty fun parts back there. Let me show you the difference. I can play notes by moving my lips. I can play notes by moving this slide. Okay, that's a great choice. Trombone was probably my most popular instrument this most recent year, and I hope that a lot of you decide to play it again this coming year in 4th grade. So now we have trombone. There's one final instrument. I'm going to grab it for you. The final instrument is called the baritone. You might think of this as a tuba, and it's very similar to a tuba. We wait until middle school to introduce the tubas. It looks just like this, but a little bit larger. Now we're still small at basically age 10. We wait until you're 11, maybe 12 to give you the next step up. But a baritone horn is kind of the best of both worlds. We have buttons like a trumpet, but it's big, right? We can see it's nice and big. So it has the low sound like a trombone. This is how a baritone sounds. Okay, so now I'm going to play that same song on 3 different instruments. I'm going to play it on trumpet, trombone, and baritone, and we'll see what it sounds like. First up is going to be the trumpet. Okay, here we go. Let me get the right music. Here we go. Next up is going to be the trombone. Give myself a little bit of space here. I'm going to put the stand on the other side. Here we go, trombone. And our final instrument in the brass section is going to be the baritone. Now I'm going to play the exact same music I played on trombone on the baritone. They often share similar styles. Okay, here is our baritone horn. Let me move my music stand over here so you can get a good view. Here we go. And those are our 3 brass instruments. So those 6 instruments is where most people in the band are going to play. Flute, clarinet, saxophone for our woodwinds, trumpet, trombone, baritone for our brass. Now there will be a couple students who are assigned to percussion. This is going to be our smallest section but they get to do a couple of different things back here. So let me introduce you to two of the instruments that they play. We call this section percussion, but it also is sometimes called the drums. So you're going to see snare drums. You'll see bass drums. You might see crash cymbals. You'll see a xylophone. Every student will kind of get to rotate through, so they play a little bit of everything. The two main ones that we focus on in fourth grade are going to be the snare drum and the xylophone. So those are the two I'm going to show you today. So first up is the snare drum. It's a little bit low, so I'm going to have to tilt this down. Let's see here. Okay, maybe we can do it that way. Okay, so you're going to see there's a drum down here. I have sticks, and we're going to learn. Now an average, we'll come down here. An average snare drum beat, we're going to learn to count, to keep a steady beat, to play with control and focus. So I don't have necessarily a melody that you could sing, but we hear a beat. Dugga dugga dot, dugga dugga dot. Let's listen. It'll sound something like this. And that's going to be the snare drum. We also play similar things on bass drums and crash cymbals. Now, the other instrument that's popular in percussion is the xylophone. So let me move this off to the side so you can see my other instrument. Okay, here we go, xylophone. Now, xylophone is based kind of like a piano. If this was a piano, we would have, we'd have the white keys down here. We'd have the black keys up here. In this case, they're all made of metal, so they're all a nice shiny silver, but they're going to be set up the same way, where there's a few keys up here, lots of keys down here. Now, instead of like a piano I would play with my fingers. On a xylophone, we're going to use mallets, which is basically a stick. And we could just play. I don't know how that sounds on a video. Sometimes it makes it sound very high pitched and ugly. It's actually a very beautiful instrument, so you might have to use your imagination a little bit. Now, if I was going to play some music on here, you could probably play one of these songs. Let's see here. Let me open up the book. I would probably play something that I did with the flutes, because the flutes are one of my higher pitched instruments, and the xylophone is one of my higher pitched instruments. So to play a xylophone, I might play something like this. Okay, and that's going to be our xylophone. So let me put this off to the side. I'll stand back up, and then we'll look at those instruments one last time. Okay, so just to review, I really hope to see you next year in fourth grade band. You have 7 different instruments to choose from. Now we're going to have you choose your top 3. Okay, so of those 7, choose 3 that you really think you would like to play. Don't choose something that you think would be the easiest. Don't play something because you know some kid on your bus that played it. Choose something that you really want to learn because it looks awesome or it sounds just so beautiful to your ears. You might like the fast notes. You might like the slow notes. You might like something high-pitched. You might like something low-pitched. Or maybe you like something right in the middle. Well, there's an instrument that's meant for you, and that's the one that I want you to play. So you're going to choose your top 3, and I guarantee we'll give you one of your top 3 choices. The most popular instruments right now in band are clarinet and trumpet. The instruments that sometimes I have to give people their second choice or maybe even their third choice is the instruments such as saxophone and percussion, because I don't have too much room for saxophones and I don't have too much room for percussion. But we have lots of room for flute and clarinet. We have lots of room for trumpet and trombone and baritone. And then we'll build a band like that. So let's review real quick so you can see one last glimpse. We have the flute, high-pitched woodwind. We have our clarinet, medium-pitched woodwind. We have our saxophone, lower-pitched woodwind. We also have trumpet. You can find it over here. Trumpet, higher-pitched brass. We have our trombone, the main low brass instrument, so lower pitched brass instrument. This is kind of the main one. And then we have our specialty instrument, the baritone. The baritone is also a low pitched brass instrument. With a baritone, some of these students will later on, when they get to middle school, these are the students that will be considered to play tuba. So even though you can still play baritone in middle school, if you're thinking about playing something really low, something really deep, baritone is going to be your main instrument. And then, of course, we have our final instruments, the percussion section, also known as the drum section, where we'll learn snare drum and xylophone, amongst others. And to remind you, the xylophone looks like this. And the snare drum's too heavy for me to pick up right now, but we played it with the sticks. All right, everybody. Well, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to have your parents email me if they have any questions about the band, and I really hope to see a lot of you next year.